Hello, genealogy friends. I hope you are well. I wanted to come on and do a quick video, one to say hi, but also because I've been getting a ton of emails about iPads, because I think it's the time of year. People are considering getting iPads for the holidays, or they're seeing that iPads are on sale because of the holidays. So I probably should have talked about this before Black Friday, but if you're still considering a purchase, then this video might be for you. And I was going through my email, and I have emails that I hadn't responded to this morning, and 3 of them were about the iPad. So I thought, well, I'll just respond to those emails in a video, and then I can send them a link to the video, and that'll be more personal anyways. Okay, so Laurie asked, what device do I use? Meaning me, she asked me what device I use, and how do I use it? So I didn't bring it with me. Sorry, I don't know if you can tell I'm in the car because I'm always in the car. But I use an iPad Pro that has an Apple Pencil, and I use that to handwrite information and to put images onto the pages. The app on the iPad Pro that I'm using is called GoodNotes 5. And this sort of goes with the other questions. So all of the questions that I got, Laurie asked for what device do I use, and then how do I use it? And I'll talk about that a little bit. Lori, which I realized as I was writing it down, I was like, that's a little confusing, wanted to know which iPad is recommended. And then Mary wanted to know how old of an iPad she could use with GoodNotes. So I'm going to sort of answer all of these questions in different ways. So personally, I use an iPad Pro. My iPad is, I think, 2 years old at this point. In order to use GoodNotes 5, you have to have an iPad that has been updated to a reasonably recent iOS. I can't remember the numbers, and I looked it up because if you look up GoodNotes, if you Google GoodNotes, my heavens, you can actually go to their website and see all of their frequently asked questions and things like that. I thought for sure that there would be a question saying, okay, what level of iOS do you need to have to run GoodNotes 5 or to download GoodNotes 5? And it didn't answer that. So that was not helpful. I will tell you that I got a new computer in 2020. 2020? Yes. Yeah, 2020, because I wanted to use GoodNotes on my laptop, and my laptop wouldn't run it. And my laptop was not that old at the time. So my assumption is that if you have an iOS that you downloaded somewhere around 2020 or more recently, you can use GoodNotes 5. But I'm just guessing because I couldn't find that information posted anywhere. It won't take your money if it's not going to download and install on your iPad. So if you have an iPad, you could always go to the App Store and try to buy it, and it will tell you, I'm sorry, that this app's not compatible with your device, or it'll actually go through, and then you'll know that it'll work for you. So let's see, which question should I answer first? Okay, I'm just going to go with how do I use it, so that you're not spending all this time listening to me talking about GoodNotes if you're not even sure if GoodNotes is interesting. So GoodNotes is a digital notebook app. It's not a genealogy app. It's an app that lets you put pages together to create digital notebooks. It comes with pages that are very standard for notebook pages. So it comes with blank pages, graph paper, lined paper, dotted paper, and it's just built into the app. And to make notebooks, you pick out a cover, and then you pick out like one interior page, and then you can add pages one at a time and make your notebook as large as you want it to. The app is set up so that you can save manually, or I think most people probably take the option of being able to save automatically. That's what I do. So the notebook, as I write things in my notebooks and add pages to them, it backs up to the cloud once a day. So my notebooks are always up or, saved somewhere in addition to being saved on my iPad. When I say to the cloud, I mean that it sends an updated copy to my Google Drive. Sorry about my voice. I I know that I keep sounding like a broken record because this is honestly week 6, but I'm still a little bit sick. But it really is just my voice. Anyway, the nice thing about GoodNotes is that in addition to the pages that comes with the template, you can import new pages, or you can do things like import, PDF articles or PDF books and then just write on them. So because of that, I can save my pages as PDFs and then bring them in, to GoodNotes and then use the pen to write on them and to add photos and stuff like that. It's very, very intuitive and simple as soon as you get used to it. And so I've used it for a long time. In fact, a lot of the, I was using GoodNotes before I created the pages to use for my genealogy. So I think I've been using GoodNotes since there was a GoodNotes 3. And actually I was using GoodNotes 4 and I created all of these different videos showing people how to use Family Tree Notebooks pages and GoodNotes 4. I took a week and made 15 videos. I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember this. I mean, old enough customers. But yeah, I put them all out, and then the next week they changed to GoodNotes 5 and the format totally changed, and all of the videos became outdated immediately, and I was really irritated for a long time. And I can't remember when that was. It was before the pandemic, but I have not even heard whispers of a GoodNotes 6, so I think we're good for a while. Okay, so how old of an iPad can I use with GoodNotes? Again, I'm not totally sure. I think that you would need to just try, because it depends on the iOS that your iPad can run. I have iPads that are as old as all the way to the 1st generation that I know for a fact wouldn't be able to be updated and so run GoodNotes. But honestly, we tend to burn through iPads in our house. My husband and I and our kids use iPads a lot. All 3 of our kids, who are 6, 9, and 11, use iPads to do photo editing, to do digital drawing, and to make videos. So they use a lot of creative processing power, and I swear it just burns the thing out. I think if you were just like watching Netflix and reading magazines, it might not burn it out as quickly, but we really burn through them, which is annoying because they're expensive. So I have gotten a new iPad for my business about every 2 years. And because of that, I don't run into a lot of problem with GoodNotes not working because the iOS is being funky or anything like that. It's usually because the actual iPad is starting to slow down and be glitchy. So it's sort of like you could have an old iPad that's in great condition that might run GoodNotes just fine, and you could have a newer iPad that you have just worn out that'll still be kind of glitchy. So it's a complicated question. I would say if you've got one though, just try. I think the GoodNotes app is $10. But again, it won't take your money unless it's actually going to run the app on your iPad. And then Lori wants to know which iPad is recommended. So, any iPad will work. If you're buying one, any iPad's going to work. But there are differences between the iPads that are kind of a big deal. And let's pretend, an iPad, you can use it for all sorts of stuff, right? For watching movies, for FaceTiming, for reading books, for playing games. But let's say you're really just buying an iPad because you want to use it for your genealogy. So Apple has regular iPads and iPad Pros, which is the one that I have, iPad Minis, and iPad Airs. And then they went ahead and made it even more complicated because they came out with a new iPad recently. So now when you go to buy an iPad from Apple or from wherever, Target, Costco, you can get the 9th generation iPad, or you can get the new 10th generation iPad. There's not a huge difference between them. The biggest difference is that the 10th generation iPad is a little tiny bit faster and it comes in pretty colors. Whenever they release a new generation iPad, it always makes the other ones feel like garbage. The 9th generation iPad is great. It's completely fine. It's 3 generations farther down the road than when I first sold Family Tree Notebooks pages and told you guys to buy iPads. So that is the cheapest one, is the 9th generation iPad. And it's completely fine. And it's compatible with the Apple Pencil, which is sold separately. And you'd be able to run GoodNotes on a new iPad 9th generation. The one thing you do want to think about, though, that makes a difference is memory, and this makes a difference regardless of which model of iPad you get, I always go for as much memory as I can afford. Do you need to absolutely max out and get a ton of memory? No, but memory helps. It helps your iPad run quickly, and it also, I've never actually made a family tree notebook that's so big in GoodNotes that I start to run out of memory. Part of that is because I buy tons of memory, but that is a possibility. I mean, as you keep adding pages and photos and scans of documents and all that sort of stuff, you're going to be saving stuff to your iPad. If you are using, I use the Ancestry and Family Search and My Heritage apps, and I download documents. I download documents from Google Books, PDFs, and I send those to my iPad. I scan photos and send them to my iPad and use photo editing software on my iPad to fix cracks and do color retouches. All of that stuff gets saved to my iPad. After a while, your iPad just naturally gets full. Also, if you're doing any kind of video interviews or video editing to, you know, make newer digital movies out of old home movies and stuff like that, you want space on your iPad. So as much space as you can afford. You don't want to get like a 2 gigabyte iPad that's going to tell you that you're out of space every time you turn around. Okay, so that's the regular iPads. You've got the 9th generation normal iPad that is completely, absolutely fine. And then you've got the 10th generation iPad that's a tiny bit faster and comes in Skittle colors. The iPad Pro, that's the one that I have. It's the most technologically advanced. It's a, it's like a creative app powerhouse. So if you're doing a ton of digital art, a ton of video editing, if you're working with a lot of Adobe apps, then you might want to think about an iPad Pro. If you're not, don't even worry about it. That's the only reason that you would get an iPad Pro. I run tons of creative apps all the time. I make videos. I do a lot of digital art. I do a lot of photo editing, even just for fun for my kids and stuff like that. I wanted something that was never going to hiccup on me when I was running like big creative apps like that. So I have an iPad Pro. I also tend to burn through iPad Pros, and I swear, part of me is like, I have iPads that have lasted longer than my iPad Pros. I almost wonder if I'm a sucker for continuing to buy iPad Pros, but that's the deal with iPad Pro. Do you need an iPad Pro if you're only going to be doing GoodNotes and Family Tree Notebook pages and like opening a few genealogy apps? No, absolutely not. The iPad Mini is exactly like the iPad, but smaller and more expensive. The only reason it's more expensive is because it's smaller, because it's portable, because you can slip it into your backpack and run around town and take it on airplanes easy and stuff like that. I live in my car, and I have my little, this is my backpack. So yes, I do actually carry things around in a backpack, but like I'm in my car or I'm home. So I'm not holding my iPad a whole lot and holding it up in the air. I've never felt the need that I needed my iPad to be smaller. The iPad Pro is also the heaviest physically, but I don't like hold it up very often. I'm usually sitting somewhere, either I'm sitting in the car or I'm sitting at my desk. So the weight is not a big deal for me. But if for some reason you think that the size might be handy, then you might want to pay extra and get the iPad Mini if you wanted to slip it into your purse or something. Again, I take the Pro to libraries. I take the Pro fits in my bag just fine. I don't know. I don't really understand the iPad Mini, and it's the only kind of iPad I've never owned. And then the iPad Air, I have owned one of those. It's still fine. I just upgraded because my kids took it over. The iPad Air is lighter on purpose. It's actually really cool because the iPad Air is noticeably lighter, only it's still large. That's the other thing is with the iPad Mini, you're going to have a harder time seeing the pages. So I guess the iPad Mini is probably the worst one if you're going to just be using your iPad for Family Tree Notebooks or to look at documents on genealogy apps, then you want the screen to be as big as possible. So with the iPad Air, you get a really big screen, but it doesn't weigh a ton. And it's easy for you to travel with it and things like that. And so if you feel like you're going to be laying down or something where you are going to be holding it and trying to write on it a lot, you might want to consider getting an iPad Air, especially if you have joint issues, or I don't know if you've got like arthritis, things like that. I think a lot of you guys know that I have fibromyalgia. That's another... I have like a phone holder actually in here for the days when I can't hold my phone up. Right now I'm holding my phone and it's fine, but if I was going to do this long term, I would start to have tremors or I could start to have pain. If that's something that you're concerned about, then you might want to consider an iPad Air. But again, the vast majority of the time when I'm working on my pages, it's flat on my desk and I'm just using my pencil to write on it, in which case then the iPad Air would be fun and neat, but it wouldn't be necessary. So if I was starting with Family Tree Notebooks pages, I would buy a 9th generation iPad with as much memory as I could afford, making sure that I left room in my budget to buy an Apple Pencil, to buy a nice cover that was durable and kind of kept my iPad protected. Although they've come a long way. I mean, 9th generation, I wouldn't try this, but theoretically you can like drop them and get them a little bit wet and stuff like that, and they're still going to be okay. The first iPad that we have has cracks in all 4 corners, because you looked at that thing wrong and it started to splinter. But that was a long time ago. Anyway, but that's what I would get. 9th generation iPad with a cover and an Apple Pencil and $10 to get GoodNotes 5, and you would be completely set. So I hope that answered your questions, Laurie and Lori and Mary and everybody else who's been emailing me. I think I'm finally getting a handle back on my email inbox. It got away from me when I was sick, and then there was Black Friday, but I'm trying to catch up. And I know a lot of you are giving Family Tree Notebooks books for the holidays, because some of you have been emailing and showing me the finished products and stuff like that. I think that's so fun. If you don't mind, I would always love to get an email and see what you're working on. Or you could share it inside of the Family Tree Notebooks genealogy group, just because people find that really inspiring. I am working on my family books, finally, for the first time in forever, because I'm going to have a booth at Rootstack for the first time ever. I've never had a booth anywhere, actually. And I'm going to have a booth at Rootstack, and I'm taking a ton of samples. So I'm working on my family books, because I could make a ton of fake samples, but I was like, I'm going to spend the time making pages. I want to make my family's pages. So I'm taking a lot of the pages that I had made about 5 years ago, and I'm refreshing them and making them double-sided. And anyway, so I hope that some of you are at Rootstack, because it would be really fun to see you in person. And also, I'm a little not concerned that nobody's going to Rootstack. It's not that. It's just, I feel like we were all ready to come back out when the pandemic was kind of tapering. And now it feels like, but maybe that's just because I've been sick for 6 weeks. Now it feels like everybody's starting to get sick again. And I'm wondering if like we have a big rush over the holidays of people not feeling well, if people will decide that Rootstack isn't worth it, which would be a bummer, because it's pretty cool to all be there together. But anyway, I'll be there. I'll probably be masked, but I'll be there. And I'll be in my booth, and I'll be with my samples. So, okay. Well, it was good to chat with you guys. I will talk to you soon.